you have some nice wins, man, against guys like Hector Velasquez, and you even beat one of a guy I used to like a lot, Antonio Diaz, who you even got the Ring Magazine Knockout of the Year in 2003 over. It was a spectacular knockout that you had there, and people were starting to say like, "Hey, this guy's for reals, man." I mean, at that point, what was it like, to know that you were getting up to this top-notch level, and you were going towards that way, and you were kind of holding, your spot as being a real fighter, a real Olympian fighter, a real guy that's lived up to this name and becoming a top-notch fighter. What was that like for you?
It was good. I mean, I knew I was capable of being a champion. I mean, that was the dream that I had as a young kid. That was actually more of my dream than making the Olympic team, was to become world champion. Once I took up the sport of boxing, I always wanted to become a world champion. I didn't think about making the Olympics. That wasn't my dream. Being world champion was my dream. Turn pro, become world champion. When I had wins over, Guti Espadas, where I knocked him out in 2 rounds, everybody had, oh my God, Rocky, he's serious. He can become world champion. And I remember leading up to my first title shot at featherweight, I was supposed to fight Injin Chi. And 2 weeks prior to the fight, something happened. I don't remember what happened, but they took him out. He couldn't fight. So then who was ranked number 2? Humberto Soto. And I never knew of Humberto Soto because, I mean, I always did my homework. I think a fighter, to become the best, you have to do your homework, man. And I always did my homework. I always kept up with all the fighters, and I studied boxing. And when they told me you're not going to fight for the world championship, but would you be interested in fighting Humberto Soto for the WBC interim title? I'm like, interim title? What the hell is an interim title? Well, it puts you in line. If you win, your next fight will be for the world title. I said, why is that? If I was supposed to fight for the world title in 2 weeks, why am I going to have to go backwards now and beat this guy just to get another shot at a world title? So I was very upset, but at the time, 2 weeks before a fight, I was training for a 12-round fight. I had already been in training for so long. I just wanted to fight. I knew I could beat him. So I was very confident going into that fight, leading up to that fight when I was supposed to fight Injin Chi. I knew I could fight him inside and I could also fight him on the outside. So when they replaced Injin Chi for Humberto Soto, which I had agreed on, I believe I had lost a little spark because I was supposed to be fighting for my first world title.
I remember a lot of people were downing you because you had fought another Olympian from the '96s, Zahir Rahim, in your hometown, and a lot of people thought that Rahim had won, and so a lot of
Right.
people were saying, okay, well, Injin Chin just came off of a good fight with Eric Morales. Injin Chin might just walk all over Rocky Juarez, and I
Right.
remember them, a lot of people thinking that as well.
Yeah. I mean, when I fought Zahir Rahim, it was crazy because it was just, to me, like, he never hurt me. I think his hardest shot he caught me with in that fight was a jab, with a pretty good solid jab. And throughout that whole fight, the guy never hurt me. He was holding. I had him going back the majority of the whole fight. But don't get me wrong, Zahir Rahim was a very slick fighter. He threw a lot of punches. He was very slick, and but I don't know. I mean, that's part of the sport.
You go on, man, and instead of that becoming a setback in a way, it made you go up against these other fighters, which later on brought you to a fight with Marco Antonio Barrero, man. WBC fight, and I was there at the Staples Center in LA to watch that fight, and you pretty much quieted everybody in there because everybody thought it was going to be a Barrero victory for sure, with ease. And you get a fight like that. What was it like, man, when you got that news that you were going to fight this legendary Mexican fighter, but you were going to have to come to LA to fight him, which is pretty much still Mexico? What was it like for you, man, to get that news that you got up to this notch to fight a guy like Barrera?
Well, I didn't think of it like that. Fighting in California, it being somewhat like Mexico. But I remember I was at the gym and my coach called me to his office and he said, "Hey, Rocky, I just got a call from Main Events and they asked me if you would be interested in fighting Marco Antonio Barrera." Man, at first, man, I thought my coach was bullshitting. I said, "Barrera?" She's like, "Yeah, Barrera." I said, "Man, stop saying." He's like, "I'm serious. You would have to fight him at 130 pounds." And I had fought my whole career at 126 at that time, leading up to that fight. And I was like, I said, "Hell yeah!" I mean, I remember having a big old smile on my face, big old smile on my face because I was just thinking to myself, "Man, I'm gonna fight Pereira." At the same time, I was afraid too, scared, nervous. But any fighter who wants to be the best has to fight the best. And I think with my credentials from the Olympics, something I always told myself, never doubt myself. Always believe in myself and my ability to go out there and perform and be better than these guys who are even better than me. So I knew Barrera had his credentials, you could say. He had beat the best. He was the best. He was the man at that time in the featherweight division. Um, I was happy when they offered me that fight. It was a great feeling.
And you know what, man? Before I ask the next question about Barrera or anybody after that, man, what is it like in the locker room, man? When you're in the locker room with these fighters that they know you're an Olympian, and probably before they became pro, they probably tried to get there at one time. But of course, not everybody gets there except those certain people. Are you seen like a target already because you're an Olympian? I mean, do people kind of treat you like, different because, maybe you have a lot of haters because you made it that far because you get that recognition on top of you that to be an Olympian and they might hate on you for that reason? Do you feel a little bit of that with your, fellow boxers? Do you feel that sometimes with them?
No, I'm a very humble person. I mean, I don't. It's just crazy how, to me, people are like that. But I can say that people weren't like that with me. Whether they didn't like me or they were haters. You know, let them hate. Just as long as they don't disrespect me. That's the way I see it. People are always gonna hate.
Absolutely, and I think I ask you because you see these gold medalists like let's say De La Hoya, and they just get bashed after a while because they're like everybody doesn't like them because they get paid more, in their pro debuts or early on in their careers, and they
Right.
just get hated on right off the bat. I guess I was just asking to see if you felt a lot of that, during this trip, up to when you got to fights like with guys like Barrera.
Well, no, I mean, I think, when they gave me the shot with Barrera, they did look at me as an opponent, I believe, as another win for Barrera. But I think I definitely showed a lot of the critics and the non-believers that, oh shit, Rocky, he's for real. He just gave Barrera a beating. You know, they gave Barrera the decision, even when they announced the fight a draw. At the time, people saw that I was for real. I knew I could have beat Burrell, and that's something that I was very upset at myself after the fight because it's the story of my life, man. Why didn't I just throw more? I think if I had thrown more, I would have probably been able to stop Burrell at that time. I would have been world champion.
But you know what, to say that you were proud of yourself I would say, I don't know if you're just being very humble or something, but we were there. Okay, now Barrera was a big highlight in LA boxing. He used to fight at the Forum all the time. He used to fight here in LA all the time. So he was kind of a staple here. This is where he started his big rounds here. So I remember going there with all of my friends. There was about 20 of us. We were all saying Barrera's going to win this easy. And when we all left, we left there quiet. Nobody was, really celebrating. So obviously you did something right. So I don't know. I don't know if it was so much that you did anything wrong, Rocky. At the same time.
Well, I was just happy. I was just happy that I was able to go against 12 rounds with one of the best. That's the way I was seeing it at the time. It was until about 15 minutes after the fight when we were in our dressing rooms and I still had my trunks on and I was sitting down that one of the commissioners of California Boxing came in and said that there was a miscalculation in the scorecards and that one of the judges miscalculated the scorecards and they had Barrera winning by a point. At that time when they told us that, my manager at the time, Shelly Finkel, oh, he got pissed. I mean, he got pissed. Where as for me, I kind of just took it. I took it and rode with it. I just said, oh, whatever. I don't care. Shit, I just fought the best. I'm just
That's
happy
right.
that
I
I fought
forgot
the
there
best.
was a reversal. It was a draw, and then they reversed it to him getting that edge there.
Yeah, nobody even knew. When I got home, people still thought it was a draw unless you were on the computers and you read up on it. You would find out that I had lost by a single point. Nobody, even when I came back home, still felt that the fight was a draw, declared a draw. And it was me that had to tell them, like, no, they miscalculated the scorecards, and they had me losing by a point. So I lost. I didn't win.
Almost 4 months later, you got the rematch, and you knew that whatever that you did, you were just gonna have to improve a little bit or so. But were you doing anything different into that training for that second fight for that rematch? Was there something that you were? Did you have some kind of plan there for?
My plan was to knock Barrera out, to go in and throw punches, but Barrero's plan was to box, and that's what he did. and he moved a lot and he boxed. I mean, the second fight he did win. He did outbox me, but I messed up because I didn't go in thinking that he would do that. I thought he was actually going to fight me because Barrera's always been known for one of those Mexican fighters to go out and trade with his opponents. So in some way, I was looking forward to trading with him, and he didn't do it. I remember at that fight, there was a guy at the airport when I was going home to Houston, coming home. One of these Mexican guys at the airport, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, Rocky," in Spanish, he goes, "Keep your head up." Barrera lost a lot of respect from me. We went there thinking that, he was going to go in there and give you a school lesson, take you to school. But all he did was just run. That's not how Mexican fighters fight, and he lost all my respect in that fight.
Yeah, and he did so. He got that victory as well. You fight two more times, and on your third fight up from that, you fight another legend, man, Juan Manuel Marquez, who's still, dominant in the sport today. And you fight him over in Tucson, Arizona, man. What was it like to know that you were going to be fighting this other Mexican legend, and in Arizona, where there's a big population of Mexicanos over there? What was that like to get that
Oh man,
news?
same thing. I think Barrera was more exciting for me because I was young. I was younger, and that was my first big name fighter. You could say. Not, I mean, to me, Gudio Estados was even a big name when I fought him at the time. But Barrera's a whole different. He's in a whole different category.
And he was a lot
Uh,
closer to your style as well.
yeah. So Marquez, when they told me to fight Marquez, I mean, shit, I was very excited as well. But that fight, it just I went in there thinking I was going to be able to box him and win. And it just didn't turn out my way that day.
And a very interesting fight that you fight after that is Jorge Barrios, who I remember I used to like watching a lot fight, and you knocked him out in the 11th round. What was that fight
Oh
like
man,
for you?
Barrios. Oh, Barrios, man, he was one of the. I can say he's one of the harder punches I fought in my career. One of the hardest hitters in my 40 fight career.
Really, even
I'm
over
still fighting.
Barrera?
Oh yeah, he hit harder than Barrera. Barrera didn't hurt me one time. Barrera was more of a speed fighter. He had a good jab. I remember Barrera having a good jab, but Barrera didn't really have that much power. Barrios, he was a heavy-handed fighter. He was slower than Barrera, but when he hit you, you could feel it. Whether he hit you in the elbow or in the arms, he was heavy-handed. Very
What was it
long
like
with
when you
two left
finally got
hands.
him down, man? Were you just like, I'm glad this is over, or did you want to keep going at that time?
Well, I was like, I didn't feel like I was losing, man. I don't think he was landing. I knew he was throwing a lot of punches, but I don't feel like he was landing a lot of shots. I remember he caught me with a left hook. I had my glove up, but his left hook happened to just hit me in a certain spot on my right eye bone, and it just swelled up. And I remember he had hurt me with that punch, but I was able to recover pretty fast and continue.
Wasn't there a few low blows in that fight as well?
Yeah, we both had a couple few low blows, I think.
And that was there in your hometown, Houston, Texas. The next fight up, man, another tough guy that I think one of the most underrated fighters, man, Chris John. And you fought him in Houston, Texas. The fight after that, you got a draw there with him. And Marquez, had a tough time with him too, man. What was that fight like with Chris John?
Well, Chris John, man, I tell he was very wiry. Wiry. What I mean by wiry, he was one of those type of fighters that he was very durable, very durable. I would hit him to the body, and I could hear him making these noises, hitting him to the head. I mean, I hit him more than I could say than Barrios, and he took him. And I know I hurt him at times, but he kept throwing. That goddamn Indonesian boy, he was tough. He was tough. He wasn't the hardest hitter, but he had enough power to get some respect. The first fight he cut me, I believe.
And I
Yeah,
remember that was like one of the first and only fights I could think of that all three judges had it 114-114. Like all of them had it a draw.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the judges' scorecards were, but he was tough. He was very wiry, very sneaky. I guess he was just one of those fighters that he threw punches from every angle. He had good head movement. He was just very dribble as well.
Yeah, very crafty veteran. Um,
Crafty, crafty.
you go up and you fight him again in Vegas. He gets a victory on that one. Was he a little harder because he might have adapted to your style in that first fight? Was he a little
You
harder
know
to
what?
fight on that second fight?
No, you know what? Actually, I thought I hurt him more in the second fight. That's what's crazy. The second fight, I haven't. It's been a while since I've seen the fights. But I remember after the second fight when we fought in Vegas, man, I had him out. Like he was hurt. I think that's why it took him so long to actually fight again. He never really came back to the States after the second fight we had to fight again. I remember during the press conference, he was lost. When I say by lost, he wasn't all there. You know, he was pretty beaten up at the second fight. He was more beaten up the second fight than he was the first fight. The first fight, I was more beaten up. I think he had cut me. I was swollen in the face. But in our second fight, he was more swollen and I was clean in the face.
In September 2008, when you fought Barrios, you got that great knockout victory over him. That was one of your last wins until your last fight, which was in 2012, where you got another knockout win. But that was like 4 years that you hadn't got a victory. A lot of people were thinking that you were down, you were out, you were probably going to retire from boxing, man. And it's 2014 now. But is Rocky Juarez still in the mix of boxing at the moment?
And yes, I am. I mean, that's why I wanted to have this interview because I've been in the gym, I've been training, you know, venturing out and doing other things now because at my age, I need to. I've invested my money pretty well, so I'm hoping to have my own gym. Train kids, keep them out of the neighborhood, keep them out of the streets, and hopefully do something as a trainer, maybe.
Would you ever go back in that ring and fight again
Well, yeah,
professionally?
I definitely want to get back into it. I've been sparring. It's been about 3 months since I've sparred, but I train every day. My weight is only about 10 pounds from the 130-pound weight division. Not even 10 pounds. The other day I weighed out at 137, and that's not even me running yet. So that's just all gym work. Gym work.
Your second to your last fight there, one of my fellow guys here from Oxnard, a fighter from here that I support very much, his name is Hugo Centeno. He fought on that card there in Indio, California, where you fought Andrew Cancio, and you guys had a great fight that day. A few days later, I interviewed Carlos Famoso Hernandez, and I know you asked me something about him the other day. But
Oh yeah.
I talked to and I had asked him about the guy from Oxnard, what he thought of his performance, and then I asked him about your performance, on what he thought of your fight, and he said, he goes, I don't know if he's going to come back, but I think he still has that toughness in him to come back. So obviously he saw something there, and after that, a few months later, you had that fight where you win by knockout. So I've been hoping, man, to hear something of you, since that fight in October of 2012, but I haven't really heard anything from you to see if you were going to come back, man, and show what you still got.
Well, last year, 2013, I had 3 fights canceled on me. I was supposed to fight Yayo Thompson from Mexico in Cancun on the undercard of Shane Mosley when I believe he fought Cano. They caught, man, we signed contracts and everything. I had already signed a contract, I had already sent the contract, and 2 weeks before the fight, they tell me, hey, Rocky, the fight is off. I said, what do you mean the fight's off? Is Concha not fighting? The whole card knocked off? They're like, nah, just you. Everybody's still fighting, just you're not fighting. They changed opponents. And I'm like, what the hell, man?
I think my question is, there's a lot of fights going on in Texas now. Even Mikey Garcia, one of our guys, is going to Texas a lot and fighting. Pacquiao's fought in Texas in the last few years, a couple of times. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. just fought in Texas last weekend. There's all these. I mean, Texas is just blowing up. It's becoming like the new Nevada over there. And this is
California,
your time
yes.
to capitalize, man. And I really hope you take advantage of this situation.
Well, I definitely want to fight again, but I'm not going to be fighting for peanuts either. I mean, I'm going in there every fight, putting my life on risk. You do that every fight, but I mean, I think something people don't understand is if they're not going to be able to compare or match what I made my last fight, then I don't even want to talk. That's just how I see it. If they can't compare or match what I made my last fight, which it wasn't even much, you know what I mean? Then I don't even care to talk. And then also it's just the opponent too as well. I mean, if I'm going to fight, I can't get up for a kid who's 16-0 with 12 knockouts or 14 knockouts unless it's going to better me and put me in spot for something even bigger. I know I'm going to be used as an opponent. That I'm okay with. I've been okay with it for the last few years, but I just don't see myself just taking a fight just to take a fight just for the money because I don't need the money.
And you know what? You got every right, Rocky, to say that and to think that, because your style is fan friendly. It's what we go to see. You leave it all in the ring every time I see you fight, man. Whether you win, lose, draw, whatever the heck, you've always left it all in there, man. And it's always the best fight of the night. Whether you be on the undercard or the main event, you leave it all in there. That's how I see you, man. Every time I've thought of you, I've always said you were like the best fight. You were the action of the night, and you never let us down, man. And what can I say except that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Even though you're going to be around in 100 years from now, man, and how do you want people to remember Rocky Juarez once it's all said and done? How do you want people to think of you every time they think of that name, Rocky Juarez?
Well, unless I win a world title, I mean, I can say that I'm not going to be a Mayweather. That's for damn sure. I might not even be. Well, I'm not going to be a Barrero or even a Marquez. But one thing I would want the fans and 100 years from now, if my name was to ever come up, I just want them to say that was one tough motherfucker.
You can say it, man. It's called theboxingbar.com, so bar language is appropriate here, man. So you can say it all you want.
That was one tough motherfucker. If you ain't, let's just say my kids tell their grandkids, and just like you said, 100 years from now, I want them to be able to say that, he went in there and he fought with heart. He didn't lay down for nobody and wasn't afraid of anybody.
Man, I really hope we get to see you again soon, man. Like I said, you always leave it all in the ring, man, and there's no hating on that. That's what we're here for. That's why boxing still continues, and that's why we watch every weekend, every step that these fighters like yourself or anybody else makes, because we expect that, and only someone like Rocky Juarez will leave it all in the ring. Thank you very much, man, for coming on to theboxingbar.com finally, man, and letting us know what you're about. And hopefully down the line, man, when a fight arises, let us know what's going on, and hopefully we can get a few thoughts on your coming fights and whatever you're doing in the future, brother.
Well, shit, man, I appreciate everything. I appreciate the interview, but keep me in mind. If somebody ever talks, if they need a 126, 130 pounder, hey, throw my name out there in the mix and just say, hey, Rocky Juarez, he's still fighting. It's just, he just ain't fought. Not because he don't want to fight. It's just, what are you offering on the table?
And remember, man, I'm from Oxnard, and we have a bunch of 126ers here and 130s. So, remember, I know the Mexican Russian, man. He's a champion at 126, and I'm going to throw your name out there.
I would love to fight him too. Oh yeah, I'll fight him.
Hey, he's a champion, and he's 16, 17-0 now. So he's waiting for that tough opponent, man. And only someone like you could bring out his style as well, man.
Oh yeah, that would be a fight right there. I saw him fight the other day.
Yeah, okay, well, you know what? On that note, man, I'm going to talk to Jenny. Probably in 2 weeks he's going to come on, and we're going to have a chat. So, I'm going to throw your name out there and see what he thinks of, find a guy like you, man, and hopefully Robert and his guys are listening, man, and, are willing to throw down with that bet, man.
Shit, that fight can happen. I'd be glad for that fight to happen. Yeah, that'd be a good fight, man. I appreciate it. Hey, thanks for the interview, and you have a good night.
You do the same. Thank you very much, Chap.